Okay, if that melody just unlocked a core memory, here's the twist. Most people have no idea who wrote it. And the guy behind it didn't just score one MMO, he helped define the sound of an entire era of games. And he's even credited with work connected to Windows XP. His name is Bill Brown. And in the early 2000s, his music became the sound of home for millions of players, especially in Lineage II. But his career is way bigger than one game. And before we talk about the music, his story is honestly the perfect quiet legend origin story. Bill Brown was born in 1969 in San Diego, California. And the fun detail that feels like it explains everything. His father was a New York City radio disc jockey, so Bill grows up around sound as a real thing, not just a hobby. He started early. He said he'd been playing piano since he was 4, and writing songs since he was 6. And when he was a teenager, while everyone else was just listening to music, he was already recording his own on a TC-4 track and teaching himself synth programming in his bedroom. Then he goes to Berklee College of Music, studies film scoring, and graduates in 1991, basically learning how to write music that supports a story, a scene, a feeling, not just a song. After Berklee, he does internships in New York, works jobs to stay afloat, and eventually moves to Los Angeles. At first, he's not the composer guy. He's working in audio, learning the industry from the inside, building relationships, becoming useful. And then comes the turning point. He gets connected to Scott Gershon at Soundalux, right when Gershon is building out a music division. Bill gets brought in, and he writes 2 demo scores. One demo is for a DreamWorks project, Trespasser: The Lost World. The other is for a tactical shooter that's about to become huge. And that shooter was Rainbow Six. Those demos hit. They get accepted. And basically overnight, his game music career launches. Now, here's where it connects back to why that Lineage II town theme hits the way it does. What makes this theme godlike isn't complexity, it's character. It feels like you're safe. But the world outside the town gates is still dangerous. That emotional balance is hard to write. Let me show you what I mean in 10 seconds. Safe? Nostalgic? But the walls exist for a reason. Because the moment you step outside, the music doesn't even need to change to remind you. This world can hurt you. And then you come back in. And it's like the soundtrack exhales. And here's what most people don't realize. Bill Brown isn't just an MMO guy. He composed across games, film, and TV. He's best known for scoring all 9 seasons of CSI NY, and he has credits across major game titles like Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six and Wolfenstein. And the weirdest flex on this resume? He's credited with creating system sounds and tour software music for Windows XP. So yes, it's entirely possible you've heard Bill Brown without ever knowing his name, even outside of games. Now let's talk about the thing that ties his best work together, because it's not just talent, it's a philosophy. In one studio feature about his process, it mentions him handwriting while he's still in the idea phase, old school, then building the sound with custom instruments almost nobody else has. And that makes sense because his music doesn't feel like wallpaper. It feels like a place you can sit in. Some composers write background music. Bill Brown writes locations. And in an interview, he was basically asked 3 questions. Questions that explain why his music sticks. First, how do you write music players will live with for hours? Brown's pointed out that game music is different because players steer it, and they can live with the score much longer than film or TV, so you have to design it for that reality. It can't just be good once. It has to stay good the 100th time it loops, without becoming noise. Second, how do you keep the music unified without repeating the same trick? The answer is identity, themes you can recognize, textures you can feel, and a kind of emotional through line that makes the world coherent. That's the difference between nice music and a world that sounds like itself. Third, what's the mission of the track? It supports the action, whatever shape that action takes. Rest, travel, risk, reward. And that's exactly why a town theme can feel like architecture. It tells your nervous system, you're safe here, but only here. He's credited on the Lineage II era known as the Chaotic Chronicle, including work alongside composer Enon Zur. And then, years later, there's another moment that feels unreal. He conducted Lineage II music performed live by a full orchestra. Not a small ensemble, a full-scale concert-level performance. Which is kind of perfect, because that's what his MMO music always felt like. Cinematic, but personal. So next time you hear that town theme, remember it's part of a bigger body of work from Bill Brown, one of the quiet architects of 2000s game sound. The kind of composer whose music doesn't just decorate your memories, it becomes the way you remember the place. And now I want to hear yours. Which Lineage II track is the one for you? Dion, Giron, Hunter's Village, or something else? Drop it in the comments. This is Player Explains. Subscribe if you want more stories behind the games that raised us.